Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that's been making headlines everywhere: Bitcoin. Its price seems to be on a roller coaster, soaring to incredible highs and then taking sharp dips. But what does this volatility actually mean for the real world, specifically for businesses right here in Canada? Is it a golden opportunity, a risky gamble, or something in between? Let's break it down. First, let's talk about the elephant in the room: the price. As of our recording today, Bitcoin is hovering around a certain value, but as you know, that could change in the blink of an eye. This volatility is the defining characteristic of Bitcoin. For investors, this can mean massive gains, but it also carries significant risk. But for a business, stability is usually the name of the game. So, how are Canadian companies navigating this? Well, some are jumping in head first. We're seeing a growing number of Canadian businesses, from small coffee shops in Vancouver to large tech firms in Toronto, starting to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. Why? For a few key reasons. One is attracting a new, tech-savvy customer base. People who hold crypto are often eager to find places where they can spend it. By accepting Bitcoin, these businesses are tapping into a niche but growing market. Another reason is lower transaction fees, compared to traditional credit card fees, which can be around 2 to 3%. Bitcoin transaction fees can sometimes be lower, leaving more money in the business's pocket. It also offers a degree of protection against chargebacks, which can be a real headache for merchants. Let's look at a real-world example. There's a popular electronics retailer in Montreal that started accepting Bitcoin a couple of years ago. Initially, it was just an experiment. They wanted to see if there was any demand. What they found was surprising. Not only did they attract new customers from across Canada, but they also got international orders from people who found it easier to pay with Bitcoin than to deal with international credit card systems and currency conversion fees. Their story shows that for some, embracing crypto isn't just a gimmick. It's a legitimate business strategy. However, it's not all smooth sailing. The biggest challenge, as we mentioned, is that price volatility. Imagine a bakery sells a cake for what's equivalent to $50 in Bitcoin. If the price of Bitcoin drops by 20% the next day, that revenue is suddenly only worth $40. That's a direct hit to their bottom line. This risk is a major deterrent for many small and medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs, which make up the backbone of the Canadian economy. They operate on thin margins and can't afford to gamble with their daily earnings. To combat this, many businesses use payment processors that instantly convert Bitcoin payments into Canadian dollars. Companies like BitPay or Canada's own Coin Payments act as a middleman. A customer pays in Bitcoin, and the business receives the exact amount in dollars, minus a small processing fee. This service completely removes the volatility risk for the merchant, giving them the best of both worlds. They can accept a new form of payment without having to worry about the crypto market's mood swings. This is a game changer and is making crypto adoption much more palatable for mainstream businesses. Beyond just accepting it as payment, some Canadian companies are integrating Bitcoin into their core operations in other ways. Think about corporate treasuries. A few publicly traded Canadian companies have made headlines by adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets. They're treating it as a digital asset, similar to gold, hoping it will act as a hedge against inflation and the devaluation of fiat currencies like the Canadian dollar. This is a bold move. It signals a belief in Bitcoin's long-term value, but it also exposes the company and its shareholders to the asset's price fluctuations. When the price of Bitcoin goes up, their company's value gets a nice boost. But when it goes down, it can negatively impact their stock price and financial statements. It's a high-stakes strategy that's definitely not for every company. Then there's the entire ecosystem that has sprung up around Bitcoin in Canada. We have a thriving sector of Bitcoin mining companies, especially in provinces with cheap hydroelectric power like Quebec and British Columbia. These companies are a significant part of the Canadian tech landscape. They invest heavily in infrastructure, create high-tech jobs, and contribute to local economies. When the price of Bitcoin is high, These mining operations are extremely profitable, leading to expansion and more investment. But when the price crashes, their profitability plummets, and they have to make tough decisions about scaling back operations. So, the price of Bitcoin directly impacts the health and growth of this entire industry within Canada. We also have a robust crypto exchange and fintech scene. Companies like Wealthsimple and ShakePay have made it incredibly easy for everyday Canadians to buy, sell, and hold Bitcoin. The success of these platforms is directly tied to public interest in crypto, which, you guessed it, is heavily influenced by the price. A bull market brings in a flood of new users and trading volume, while a bear market can see activity slow down. These companies are major employers and innovators in Canada's financial sector, so their fortunes are intertwined with Bitcoin's. But what about the regulatory side of things? This is a huge piece of the puzzle. The Canadian government and regulatory bodies have been relatively progressive compared to some other countries. They've recognized cryptocurrencies and have been working on creating a clear framework. For example, Canada was one of the first countries in the world to approve Bitcoin ETFs, or exchange-traded funds. This allows people to invest in Bitcoin through traditional brokerage accounts, making it much more accessible and adding a layer of legitimacy. This clear regulatory stance gives businesses more confidence. When the rules of the road are clear, companies are more willing to invest time and resources into incorporating crypto. They know what they need to do for tax purposes with the Canada Revenue Agency, or CRA, and they understand the anti-money laundering rules they need to follow. This clarity is a major advantage for Canadian businesses looking to innovate in this space. So, to sum it all up, the impact of Bitcoin's price on Canadian businesses is complex and multifaceted. On one hand, you have forward-thinking merchants and tech companies embracing it to attract new customers, lower costs, and innovate. The high price and buzz create opportunities and fuel a whole industry of miners, exchanges, and developers. On the other hand, the extreme volatility presents a real risk that many businesses, especially smaller ones, are simply not willing or able to take on without the help of payment processors. Corporate treasury adoption is still a niche and risky strategy, and the profitability of the entire Canadian crypto mining sector rides the waves of Bitcoin's price. What does the future hold? It's impossible to say for sure. But as more and more people become familiar with digital assets, and as the technology and regulatory frameworks continue to mature, we'll likely see a slow but steady increase in adoption. The services that help businesses mitigate risk, like those instant conversion payment processors, will be key to bridging the gap. For now, Bitcoin remains a fascinating, disruptive force. For Canadian businesses, it represents both a significant challenge and a compelling opportunity to be at the forefront of financial innovation. What are your thoughts? Are you a business owner in Canada thinking about accepting crypto, or have you paid for something with Bitcoin? Let me know your experiences and opinions in the comments below. It's a conversation that's constantly evolving, and I'd love to hear your perspective. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and forget to subscribe for more content on finance and technology. See you in the next one.